It was a quiet afternoon at 221B Baker Street, where Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson sat by the fire. Holmes had just finished reading a letter and leaned back with a sigh. "I confess, Watson," he said, "that I am weary of being considered a mere calculating machine." He often spoke like this when people misunderstood what made his work so special. He didn't just solve puzzles. He noticed things no one else did. As we sat, a new letter arrived. Holmes opened it quickly, scanning the page with sharp eyes. "Ah, this is interesting," he said, handing it to me. "A young lady wishes to consult me about a strange position she's been offered as a governess." Holmes's eyes sparkled. "She's asked to come in person. We shall soon hear more." And sure enough, not long after, Miss Violet Hunter arrived at our door. Miss Violet Hunter sat straight in her chair, calm but clearly puzzled. She was about 25, with bright eyes and a thoughtful look. Holmes greeted her kindly and asked what had brought her to us. "I've been offered a position as a governess," she said, "but the conditions are very odd." She explained that a man named Mr. Jeffro Rucastle, from a country house called the Beeches in Hampshire, wanted her to look after his 6-year-old son. The pay was generous, twice what she usually earned, but the request had come with some strange requirements. "For one," she said, "he insisted I cut my hair short." Holmes raised an eyebrow. "Very unusual." "And I must wear a certain blue dress every day, one he provides, and sit in a specific chair in the drawing-room window for a set time." Holmes leaned forward, interested now. "Did you accept?" "I refused at first. But then, the offer was raised to £100 a year. That's a lot for me." Holmes nodded slowly. "And now?" "I've agreed to go. But I wanted your advice first." "You're a brave young woman, Miss Hunter," Holmes said. "But this offer has a hint of danger in it. Keep your wits about you. If anything seems wrong, send for me at once." She thanked us and left. Holmes stared after her thoughtfully. "A strange business indeed, Watson," he murmured. "There is something deeper at work here." A few weeks passed, and then one morning Holmes received a letter. As soon as he read it, he sat up straight. "It's from Miss Hunter," he said, "and it's urgent." The letter was written in haste, full of nervous energy. She had accepted the job at the Beeches and gone to Hampshire. At first everything had seemed normal. The house was large, the boy was difficult, and Mr. Rucastle was cheerful but strange. His wife barely spoke, and the servants seemed nervous. Then the odd things began. Every day, Miss Hunter was told to wear the same electric blue dress and sit in the drawing-room window, the exact spot Mr. Rucastle had shown her. She wasn't to read or sew, just sit there, where anyone walking on the road could see her. One day while doing this, she noticed a man standing by the fence, staring up at the house with a sad, surprised expression. He looked shocked, and then turned and walked away. And that wasn't all. There was a wing of the house that was always locked. When she asked about it, Mr. Rucastle gave her a cold look and said firmly, "It is not your concern." She ended the letter with one request. "Please come. I'm frightened." Holmes and I left London the very next morning, heading by train to Hampshire. The countryside was peaceful, but Holmes was quiet, deep in thought. "I fear Miss Hunter is in real danger," he said. "And we must be cautious. The man watching her from the road, I believe he is the key." When we reached the quiet lane where the Beeches stood, Miss Hunter was waiting for us outside the gate. Her face lit up with relief. "I'm so glad you've come," she whispered. "There's more I must tell you." She led us to a little garden path, hidden from the house. There she explained everything. Every day she still had to wear the same dress and sit in that same chair by the window. And every day, the same man stood by the fence, looking up at her with heartbreak in his eyes. Holmes listened carefully. Then she told us about the forbidden part of the house, a hallway with a locked door and heavy furniture pushed in front of it. "I once found the key in Mr. Rucastle's desk," she said. "But when I tried to open the door, it was locked from the inside." Holmes's eyes gleamed. "Indeed, this grows more curious by the hour." That night, under a sky full of stars, Holmes, Watson and Miss Hunter met quietly outside the copper Beeches. The house was dark. Everyone inside was asleep, or so they hoped. "We must be quick and silent," Holmes whispered. But there was a problem. Carlo, the huge mastiff, was loose in the yard. Miss Hunter explained that the dog was normally gentle, but Mr. Rucastle had begun starving it to make it more dangerous. He only let it out at night. "We'll wait," Holmes said calmly. "At 11 he chains it again. Then we move." They waited in the shadows. At last, they heard the rattle of a chain. The yard fell silent. Holmes took out his tools and led the way around the back. With steady hands, he unlocked the door and guided them through the dark hall. Miss Hunter pointed to the hallway where the locked door stood. Furniture had been piled in front of it, as if someone wanted to be absolutely sure no one could enter. Holmes examined the door, then picked the lock with a quiet click. The door creaked open. Inside was a small plain room, just a chair, a table and a cot. A white curtain covered the window, and the window itself was nailed shut from the outside. But the strangest thing of all, the room was empty. "No one is here," Watson whispered. Holmes's eyes narrowed. "But someone was here, recently." He pointed to the table, a plate with crumbs, a folded blanket, a fresh scent in the air. "This was a prison," he said softly, "and it was abandoned in a hurry." Just then, footsteps, heavy and fast, coming up the stairs. "Quickly," Holmes whispered. "We are not alone." The footsteps thundered closer. In a flash, Holmes closed the door to the empty room and led us swiftly back down the hall. But before we could reach the kitchen, Mr. Rucastle appeared at the top of the stairs. His round face was twisted in rage. "What are you doing in my house?" he barked. "How dare you break in?" Holmes stood calm and straight. "We know what you've been hiding," he said. "You had someone locked in that room. Where is she now?" Mr. Rucastle's face went pale, then red. "You'll regret this," he hissed, and turned sharply. We heard a door slam, then the sound of a latch unhooking. "He's going to release the dog," Miss Hunter gasped. We bolted through the kitchen and out the back door. But it was too late. From the shadows, a deep, angry growl rose. Carlo, the starving mastiff, had been set free, and he was charging straight at his master. "Back, Carlo, back!" Rucastle shouted, but the dog didn't stop. With a terrifying snarl, Carlo leapt at him, knocking him to the ground. It was over in seconds. We rushed to help, but the dog had already done terrible damage. Holmes grabbed a stick and shouted. Watson fired a shot into the air. Finally, Carlo backed away, panting, and Holmes managed to chain him up again. Mr. Rucastle lay groaning on the ground, alive, but terribly wounded. Miss Hunter trembled beside us. "Now," Holmes said quietly, "it's time for the truth to come out." With the danger behind us, we gathered in the quiet morning light. Holmes stood calmly, hands behind his back, as Miss Hunter looked at him with wide, curious eyes. "Tell me everything," she said. "I want to understand." Holmes nodded. "You were never meant to be a governess. You were hired to play a part. To sit in that window, wearing the same dress every day, and look just like someone else." "Someone else?" she asked. "Yes," said Holmes. "Mr. Rucastle's daughter, Alice. She was locked in that room upstairs." Miss Hunter gasped. "She had fallen in love with a man named Mr. Fowler," Holmes continued. "But her father didn't approve. If she married, he would lose control of her inheritance. So he locked her away to keep them apart." "And the man at the gate?" she asked. "Mr. Fowler," Holmes said. "Rucastle hoped that by putting you in the window, dressed like Alice, Fowler would think she no longer cared for him and leave." Miss Hunter's eyes filled with understanding. "But when Alice found a way to communicate with him, probably by slipping a note, Rucastle realized he was losing control. So he moved her, and we found only an empty room. Later we learned the full truth. Alice had been rescued by Fowler and taken to safety, just in time. She would recover and be free." Holmes turned to Miss Hunter and smiled. "You were very brave. Without your sharp mind, we may never have known the truth." In the days that followed, the truth about the copper Beeches came out fully. Mr. Rucastle survived the attack from his own dog, but he would never be the same. The doctors said his mind was damaged, and he was left weak and helpless. His wife and the servants left him, choosing to live quietly elsewhere. As for Alice, she recovered in time. Thanks to the courage of Mr. Fowler and the cleverness of Holmes, she was reunited with him. The two were married not long after and lived peacefully, far from the house that once held her prisoner. Miss Violet Hunter, who had shown such bravery and sense, was offered a new job, headmistress of a school for girls. She accepted with joy. "I'll never work in anyone's home again," she said with a smile. "And Holmes?" He was satisfied. "A curious case," he said, "but justice in the end has been served." Holmes and I took the train back to London, the quiet countryside slipping away behind us. The case of the copper Beeches was over, its secrets uncovered, its dangers past. As we settled into the familiar rooms of 221B Baker Street, Holmes stretched and lit his pipe. "That was a curious business, Watson," he said softly. "Strange how people's lives can twist in such hidden ways." I nodded, watching the steady glow of the fire. "Miss Hunter showed great courage," Holmes added, "and the truth once found brought peace where there was fear." Outside the city buzzed as usual, but inside our rooms there was calm. Holmes looked at me with a rare smile. "Now, Watson, what adventure shall we seek next?" And with that, our quiet afternoon began once more, waiting for the next mystery to come.